Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, August 9th, 2014. This is episode 1107. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Citrix ShareFile. Enhance your workflow. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with Citrix ShareFile. Try ShareFile today for a 30-day free trial. Go to sharefile.com, click the microphone, and enter Tech Guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. It's time for the Tech Guy Show. Time to talk about computers and the internet, home theater, digital photography, all that jazz, you know, MP3 play. No, I don't think we'll be talking about MP3 players today. 8888, ask Leo. Although I did see Apple drop the price on its iPods by some amount. Does anybody? Bueller? Anybody want an iPod? I think it's probably good for kids. Certainly an iPod Touch is. It's everything an iPhone does, but minus the phone part. 8888 ask Leo, if you want to talk about tech, I'd like to talk about it with you. Of course, we have a website. What kind of tech guy would I be if I didn't have a website? TechGuyLabs.com by name. You can go there and find answers to questions from previous shows. 1,107 total. This is 1107 today. That sounds like a lucky number. Yeah. You can also find links to the chat room there. Great group of people listening in the... They're kind of like the kids in the back of the class, you know. They're sometimes unruly, sometimes throwing spitballs, but sometimes they're very helpful. So we keep them around. They're the smart kids, you know. The smart kids are always the problem kids, aren't they? The smarter they are, the more bored they are. So join us in the chat room if you're one of those. TechGuyLabs.com. Also a link to the phone number, everything you need. And it's free. There's no charge. We don't sign you up or anything like that. It's a very simple, easy thing to do. I have to thank my friend Dick DeBartolo, the Gizwiz. This is a huge honor. The new Mad Magazine just came out. The 50 Worst Things About Food. It's Alfred E. Newman eating a piece of watermelon on the front cover. And Dick, who's written for Mad Magazine for a few decades, like 5 decades, nonstop since he was a high school kid, wrote the Shark Tank parody, which he calls Snark Tank. And several of our staff members are featured in this, which is awfully nice. Dick is a regular on this show, but he also does a podcast called The Gizwiz on my podcast network. And his co-host there, a young guy we hired a little while ago named Chad Johnson. He has vivid red hair, so he's easy to spot in the Snark Tank comic. He's one of the participants. But then the best part is at the end of the story, I come on. A picture of me in Mad Magazine and my name and everything. I could just retire now. Says, hi, I'm Leo. Apparently we're presenting to the Snark Tank team. And this is my partner, Lisa. If we look familiar, it's because we've been on Snark Tank before. You ridiculed our idea of producing bandages with pictures of pets on them and said we had zero business sense. Well, we're back to say we made $1 million. $1 million is nothing in this business. We made $1 million in the 3 minutes we've been standing here. We made hundreds of millions since we stood here last time. Really? Assuming you're telling the truth, what are you doing with your millions? Well, we took Mark's advice, and he said we only had one single stupid product, so we branched out into something a little more serious, buying TV rights. Well, that's not stupid. You could make a fortune at TV rights. We know. Our most successful purchase was buying the rights to this show. And you're fired. Wow. That is great. Anyway, if you happen to get the latest issue of Mad Magazine, it's October, the October issue, Dick DeBartolo and Tom Richmond, and just a great... Steve Jobs is in there, and oh, it's so cool. Albert Einstein, Technicolite Tesla, and Dick himself, which is pretty neat too. He doesn't usually put himself in these things. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Thank you, Dickie D. Very nice of you. I guess Sprint has given up its bid for T-Mobile. This is, I think, good news. T-Mobile, we have 4 big carriers in the U.S. I don't need to tell you this, the AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, and T-Mobile. But Sprint and T-Mobile have been struggling for some time. AT&T and Verizon have the lion's share. I don't know, 80% of the market, something like that. And the merger kind of made sense from a competitive point of view, from Sprint and T-Mobile's point of view. Then they would be, competitive. It's kind of like Hertz joining with Avis, or DirecTV joining with Dish, or, well, it happens, Sirius joining with XM. When you're in a tough market, teaming up sometimes is a good idea. But I don't know, for some reason, it just didn't go through. A French carrier named Iliad, I've never even heard of, has put in an offer for T-Mobile, and now Sprint says, forget about it. But I think this is good, because the more carriers there are, the more competition there is, and the better it is for us consumers. For instance, T-Mobile's gotten very aggressive as the, quote, un-carrier, and offered some really good packages. They've kind of eliminated the contract, the early termination fees. They've come up with some. There's a Sprint plan. I think it's only on the web. That's perfect for the modern era, because it's unlimited data, unlimited text. That's mostly what you use a smartphone for, right? But only 100 minutes of talk a month. But that's for a lot of us. Now, I know not everybody, but I never talk on my smartphone. It's all about data and texts for me, messaging, $30 a month. And you get, if you're not somebody who makes a lot of phone calls, good luck finding it. It's one of those things where they don't really want a lot of people to sign up, but boy, it's a great deal. And that's what you get when people compete. That's a good thing. Speaking of competition, Microsoft, not going well for Microsoft. I feel bad for them. They've struggled a little bit. Now an analyst says they've lost almost $2 billion on their Surface tablets. Yikes. Not a big moneymaker, apparently. But they are, and this is probably a good strategy, they are going to increase the Microsoft stores. This was a very good strategy for Apple. A strategy I poo-pooed. I thought this is the last thing you want to get into is retail. But Apple was smart. Apple said, look, nobody's seeing our products in their best light. So we want to have a store where it's just beautiful, and you go in and you really get an experience, and it's helpful staff, and it really gives, it's the answer, by the way, to showrooming and online killing brick-and-mortar stores. That's why I thought it was a bad idea. I said, why would you want to build a store when everybody's going out of business? But it made sense, and they've done very, very well. In fact, it's among the most, if it's not the most profitable per square foot of any, better than Tiffany's. They make more money per square foot than the high-end jewelry store, Tiffany's. Microsoft's starting to do the same thing, but for some reason, they've never had a store in Manhattan. Never. The biggest city in America. And you have to go to New Jersey to buy a Surface. Well, that's apparently going to change. In fact, this is where the competition comes in. They're apparently going to build a new 8,700 square foot retail store. That's not huge. It's fairly small, actually. Smaller than my studio. But anyway, but they're going to build it on Fifth Avenue, just a few blocks away from Apple's iconic Cube store, that beautiful glass structure on Fifth Avenue. This is what Microsoft seems to do all over the country. There's a Microsoft store across the way from the Apple store here in our neck of the woods. And that's true in a lot of cases. That Apple store looks pretty good. Let's put one right across the street, right across the way. It's in the mall. You can turn left and go to buy a Surface, turn right and buy a Mac. Competition's good for us. It's really good for us. It means there's more choices, keeps prices low, keeps innovation high, keeps companies working hard to get your business, and that's a very good thing. So I'm very glad to hear that. Let's see. Well, we think we know now, September 9th, 1 month exactly from today. Actually, not exactly. 4 weeks from Tuesday would be another way to put that. 4 weeks from Tuesday, Apple will announce its new iPhone. And in the past, they've been 10 days, and then the iPhone will be available. So if you've been waiting and waiting, the new iPhone may be here, maybe even the iWatch too. Some insiders say yes. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Your phone's next. Yeah, the Microsoft stores are often across from Apple stores, which is weird. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum-bum-bum. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, filling in for Heather Hammond, who's decided never to come back to work, apparently. Kim Schaffer. Kim says that's fine.
Well, yeah, it's fine. And then I'll have her fill in for me when I need to go.
That's the way you do it. So Kim's been lining up calls all morning. Who should I start with?
We've got a lot of calls on all the different versions of Windows today, but we'll go with Richard in Huntington Beach, and he has a question about Windows XP and his internet connection. He's having issues.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Hi, Richard. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
So I had a Windows crash with my XP software, and I took the computer apart, and I think it was dirt that was causing misconnections. Anyway, got it up and running. Now I'm having a difficult time getting it up to where it'll connect to the Internet because of service packets or updates, and I'm wondering, like Google Chrome, it will not allow me to download Google Chrome or any Firefly. I am able to get on limited amount with the Internet Explorer, and I'm just wondering if you have any recommendations on how I could solve the connection problems. Everything else on the computer works fine.
Is there any way you can get a new computer?
Yeah, the reason I'm trying to hang on to this is I have a lot of photography peripheral software, and I'm just tired of paying thousands of dollars every time I have to re-up my software.
So here's the deal. As you know, I'm sure XP has reached what Microsoft calls its end of life. Correct. Last April, they stopped updating it. Yeah. They stopped updating Internet Explorer even earlier. So IE8, which is the latest version you can get on that, is absolutely not safe to use.
Right.
The fact that you can't install Chrome worries me.
Yeah.
Because when when you say dirty, like, did you vacuum? How dirty was it?
I actually opened it. I opened the case up, saw there was a lot of lint and a lot of dust.
So you'd never opened it in the whole time you'd owned this, for the 10+ years you'd owned this, you'd never opened it.
No, I've cleaned it a couple of times, but I never
think it's dirty. If you think of it, it's a tower case.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so if you think about it, the way the fans are arranged is to draw air in and blow it out. So air is passing through it. So, of course, every bit of dust and lint and dog hair and everything just accumulates in there.
So I got to tell you, I've cleaned out the front part many times, but I've never taken it completely apart. And the amount that was backed up behind the motherboard and the case was amazing. So that was the first time I got that far.
So a couple of things could have happened. I mean, it could have been damaged in the crash because the dirt, the impact of the dirt is heat. It prevents the cooling from occurring and even acts as a blanket on top of components. So it could be some components. The reason it crashed is some components overheated. Cleaning it out certainly helped, but it doesn't mean there wasn't some long-term damage. But you say everything's working fine. Did you reinstall Windows, or did you just kind of stick with the existing hard drive?
No, I reinstalled. I formatted the hard drive.
Oh, so you have a clean install of XP.
Absolutely.
That's good news. That means you have no viruses on there because you wiped them out, if there were any. And then you tried to do the updates. What happened?
I was able to update the SP3, Service Pack 3.
Good news. That's important.
Like I said, everything offline works perfectly. It zips. It's fast. It's like the new computer. It's just trying to download Chrome and Firefly. It says that something is blocking it. Some program is blocking it.
And you can use Google otherwise fine? You can go to google.com, no problem?
I cannot. No, I can go to Internet Explorer.
No, but can you go to the Google webpage in Internet Explorer? Can you go to google.com?
Let me try that. I don't think so.
I wonder if Google's being blocked. If Google's being blocked, so I don't know how you could possibly have been infected by anything so quickly, but
I can go to google.com.
Okay. But you can't go to google.com/Chrome?
Let me try adding Chrome on that.
You'd like to use Chrome. Google says we're going to keep Chrome up to date for XP well into 2015.
Right.
It is possible to use XP safely. We don't recommend it, but it's certainly possible with a few changes to the way you work. You know, the biggest threat to any computer is how you behave.
Updated, yeah. So, and I never get viruses. It's
when you go to google.com/Chrome, what happens?
Security alert, and I get a ton of these. View certificate. It says information in exchange.
Check the date on your computer. It's wrong.
Check the date. Let's check the date.
So this can happen. And with an older computer, the date doesn't get held because the battery is dead. So you may need to replace the battery on the motherboard. Your computer is back in 1938 or something.
I did that, and you're right. It was a 2003. So,
yeah. So all those certificates are broken because the date is wrong. Certificates are date-based. If you go back to 2003, that certificate, it predates the certificate. So the browser goes, I don't know, this is wrong. Something's really wrong, and won't let you hit it. So simply set the date and time correctly. You may need to get a new battery. Usually on motherboards of that type, there's just a little quarter-size lithium battery that you pop in there.
Before I took it all apart, I changed that, and the last thing I did was to wipe the hard drive, and I kind of wish I hadn't done that now because I would have been able to do it. But I'll bet you have solved my problem.
I think I have. It was just bad certificates because the date was wrong. Fix the date. If the date doesn't hold when you turn the computer off, you'll need to get a new battery in there. That's typical on computers of this age. The battery obviously doesn't go forever. And then, please, here's how you can use XP safely. Very important, all of this. First of all, don't use Internet Explorer. That old version is unsafe. You're smart to go to google.com/Chrome. It's free. It's a free download. The beauty part is, besides being more secure, and Google is keeping it up to date, it has Flash built in. You don't need to download Flash, which is another security nightmare. Google has keeps it up to date in its own version. It keeps Chrome up to date. Much safer. Do all your browsing with Chrome. You can't uninstall Internet Explorer, but it's best not to use it. You'll have to use it for Windows Update, things like that. Now, the good news is you don't have to worry about Windows Update because there aren't going to be any more. You have applied all the updates. Service Pack 3 is the most important. Make sure you get all the rest since then. And then here's the number one thing you can do. This fixes 94%, according to some research, of all malware exploits. 94% just don't work anymore. That means most of the stuff you run into on the internet by not running as an administrator. Very important. Now, the steps on this are, I've screwed some people up, so I want to make sure that you do this right. In your existing account, you can create a new account because you're an administrator now. This is the risk. And computer companies did this because it was easier. They didn't have to support you. But you don't want to run as administrator because the rights that you have, the things you can do as administrator, malware can do. So you want to run as a standard or limited user. So what you're going to do is create a new account, make that an administrator account. You know, you can, and call it something that you know, like, you know, I don't know, Richard the Administrator. So and give it a good password. It doesn't have to be the best in the world, just a good password. Now, log out of your existing account, which is also administrator. Log into Richard the Administrator and downgrade the existing account, the one you use day to day, to a standard user. I think in XP they call it limited user. And you're going to use that one unless you have to update or install software, something, you know, where you want power. Day to day, use the limited user. You'll be like infinitely safer. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Our show today brought to you by ShareFile, and I mean that more than just they're an advertiser. They literally, in many cases, bring you the show, the ads you hear on the show, the bumpers you hear on the local radio stations. I use ShareFile to share them with radio stations. We tried all sorts of different ways of getting files to the radio stations, all the obvious ways of sharing files, including email attachments, and realized this is bad. First of all, you've heard me say don't use email attachments. Number one, job one, for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're insecure, and I tell the recipients, I tell everybody, don't open email attachments. So what are they going to do when they get one from you? Furthermore, nowadays with the large files we're sending, presentations, you know, the PowerPoint files or images and spreadsheets, that kind of thing, they can often exceed the capacity of inboxes. Inboxes can be sometimes limited total to 10 megabytes. ShareFile lets you send 10 gigabytes. So no more bounce backs, and most importantly, it's secure. When you send an email, it's like sending a postcard to the internet. ShareFile encrypts that file and then sends a secure link in your email instead of an attachment. Works with Outlook, just like email attachments. If you don't want to use Outlook, I actually use it from the web site. They have all sorts of different ways of doing it, which is really fabulous. ShareFile is the best way to share files in business. Why? Well, it's created by Citrix, of course. They know this. They know how it works. If you look at the various tools you can use for ShareFile, they'll synchronize folders, which is great, so you can use it from your desktop. Outlook integration is really fabulous. I use the desktop widget on the Mac, which makes it very simple. There's even an API if your IT department wants to get sophisticated. It even supports WebDAV. You can request files. You can send files. Secure links. You control the files. You decide who has access for how long. You'll get a notification when people open your files. I don't even have to send an email because these people are set up with rights. You can set up permissions to the folders, and they actually automatically get an email that says, oh, Leo uploaded a file. So if I forget, that's very easy. Here's my ShareFile interface. This is beautiful because it doesn't say ShareFile. It's branded with my company or your company's logo. They customize it for a variety of different businesses. Legal, it's HIPAA compliant. Compliant with SEC regulations. You see the folders shared with these people at Premiere, so they automatically know. Look, I love it. I want you to try it. 30 days free. Sharefile.com. What I want you to do, though, if you would, is click there. This is a little tricky. There's a microphone at the top of the page that says podcast listeners. Click here. Click that one. And then use our offer code TechGuy. One word. TECHGUY. Sharefile.com. Use the offer code TechGuy for 30 days free. Citrix ShareFile. It is really... It's the only. I've been using it now for several years. It's the only thing I've found that works in every situation. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, he's rocking out to that country music. It's Mr. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guru. Hello, Scotty.
Hey, Leo, how's it going?
Good. Editor-in-chief of the AVS Forums. He's also a regular on our podcast network. Does a show every week called Home Theater Geeks, which is a must listen if you're really into home theater. Well, welcome, Scott. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I see these inexpensive, relatively inexpensive OLED UHD displays. Is it LG that's now offering a 65-inch 4K OLED TV for about $7,000?
That is what...
And I'm kicking myself. In the past, we've said, don't worry about 4K because there's no 4K content. But last week you said something that surprised me. You said maybe it is time. Thanks to Joe Kane, you feel like these new sets will work.
Well, they certainly will. And even without Joe Kane's thoughts about it, they will certainly work. What they won't do is show you the expansions, the extensions to what we currently see on TV in their full value. So you won't see expanded colors. You won't see expanded dynamic range. But that doesn't mean it still won't look good. Joe has kind of changed my mind on this. I've been saying, you know what? Wait until these standards for color and dynamic range and so on get settled.
Said two things. We said wait until standards and wait until there's content.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
That too.
I mean, there's no urgency to get a 4K display.
No, there isn't. There isn't. But if you get a 4K display now, it will show current content, which is going to be in this current color standard and dynamic range standard, and future content that's going to have that extra stuff. DirecTV just this week announced that by the end of the year, they are going to have 4K video on demand, or VOD. And next year, 2015 or perhaps early 2016, they will have live programming in 4K. So the programming is coming, but I'm willing to bet that programming, as of now, will still have those the same amount of color, the same amount of dynamic range, and so on that current HD TV has. So, I'm starting to soften my stance a bit on.
Oh, shocking. Shocking.
Hey, only a real man can change his mind when presented with new evidence,
Foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds, Scott.
Wow, who said that?
Thoreau. or Emerson. One of them New England, one of them New Englandy guys.
One of them guys.
So now here's the question: OLED. Should I hold out for OLED? Is OLED going to replace? We know plasma's dying, which is sad.
Plasma's almost dead.
I have plasma all over. I love plasma.
Well, and that's the unfortunate thing. It is the superior technology, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion. But it failed in the marketplace, partly because it's not as bright as LCD.
Yeah.
So it couldn't stand out and compete with LCDs on a showroom floor, for example. So you go in to buy a TV, you see all these TVs, you go, oh, that one's bright. I like that one. I like that one. Oh, that one looks kind of dim and dull. I'm not going to get that one. That was the plasma. The problem is people don't realize that they don't live in a showroom. Right? So they take it home. If you take home a plasma and you put it in your living room or your home theater or someplace with some amount of light control, even doesn't have to be all that much, it's still going to be a lot better than a showroom floor with those brilliant Klieg lights overhead. And it's going to look great, but it's too late. It failed. It's too late.
No point in fighting it.
Nope.
The industry as a group has decided we don't want plasma. I suppose, it's possible that some special, kind of elite manufacturer might still make them, right? Or is it just...
Well, it's possible, but there's another factor, and that is it's very difficult, if not impossible, to make a 4K plasma.
Ah, that's what's killing it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That, I think, is the final nail in the coffin, if you will.
So 4K... UHD, we should probably use UHD because that's what you'll see in stores is UHD. That's
you'll see 4K as well. Okay. You'll see 4K as well, and it's a little bit of a misnomer. We can talk about the slight difference between UHD and 4K, but it doesn't matter. You'll see one or the other.
Let's not pick nits.
Exactly.
OLED, should I say, I am not going to buy a new TV until OLED prices come down? OLED is better, much better than LCD, isn't it?
It is. It is. Much better blacks, much better off-axis viewing angle. But it's still very expensive, and to tell you the truth, I still expect it to remain expensive. I mean, a 65-inch OLED TV for $7,000 seems kind of cheap, considering you paid $9,000 for your 55-inch. But that was last year or 2 years ago.
My 55-inch HD, it wasn't even Ultra HD. So
it wasn't even Ultra HD, right? Yeah. Exactly. So, okay, so that it is coming down, but OLED manufacturing is still expensive.
Okay.
Yields are still relatively low. I think it's going to be a while until it becomes down to the level of the mass market.
Isn't the rule really always wait as long as you can, because it's always going to get better and there's always changes and the standards are changing. But if you need a new TV, you might as well. Same with, it used to be this, we'd had this conversation with computers. If you can wait, or phones, if you can wait, do. Because there's always something better coming down the pike. But if you need one, don't wait, because better to have the best stuff out now.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. 100%.
And now, I think it's the case, you've kind of made me feel better about buying an ultra high def or UHD or 4K TV, because we know that it will at least, it may not be ideal for the future standards, but it will at least support them, right?
It certainly will. It certainly will. Joe Kane was talking about how what he hopes happens is that the signal that comes down the pipe will be smart and will ask the TV, what are your capabilities? And the TV will say, I've got this color range, I've got this dynamic range, and the signal essentially will say, or the set-top box that it comes from will say, okay, I'll deliver that to you.
Or maybe you should get one of these LED, LCD. Don't confuse OLED with LED, by the way.
Correct.
There's organic light emitting diode. That's the new stuff. And then there's the old stuff, which is LCD backlit by LED.
Correct.
Maybe those are so cheap, those 4Ks. Maybe I should get one of those. Aren't they?
Well,
really, like they're under $2,000 now.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're getting down there. And the critical thing to think about in a low-cost 4K or UHD TV is how good is the upscaling? Because we do know that 4K content is coming, but there's not much of it yet. And so most of what you're going to be watching is regular high def, 1080p.
Right.
And so how well does the TV upscale that content into its native pixel resolution, which is 4 times that of HD?
Right.
So the Seiki TVs don't do it very well.
Those are the really cheap ones.
Really cheap ones. And what Seiki did, they did a very good thing. They built a cable that has an upscaler in it, a better upscaler that's in there than what's in their TV.
Wow.
And so they said, here, if you buy one of our TVs, we'll give you one of these upscaling cables, or you can buy one for $40, and it'll do a much better job than the upscaler in our own TV.
Wow. Yeah.
Most of the mainstream manufacturers do good upscaling in their 4K TVs, so it's not too much of a concern, except if you're really going for the bottom of the price barrel.
I haven't of late seen a lot of ads for big screen TVs. Do you think the companies are kind of gearing up for, I don't know, the Super Bowl or the fall, and then they're going to announce new? When do they announce the new TVs?
Well, the new TVs typically are announced at CES in January.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we have but they come out in like September, right?
Correct.
So this is when you're going to start seeing a ramp up for the new
sale.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Scott Wilkinson, avsforum.com, twit.tv/HTG for his home theater geeks. We'll talk later.
You bet.
All right, I'm going to let you. If you're running a small business, ship. You can't operate.
Thank you so much.
Take it away.
Hard to port.
No, don't steer it into the reefs. Just
steady as you go.
Steady, thank
Straight
you.
ahead.
Yes, please. Hard to port.
Hey, you gave me the helm.
What can I say? Take the con, number 2.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, we didn't talk about the Value Electronics flat panel shootout, which is coming up this weekend, and I do want
I wanted to talk about that. I forgot. Well,
we'll
talk about it next week because the results will be out next week, right?
No, they will be. The shootout will be underway as we speak next week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good time to do it then. Okay.
So yeah, we can talk about it then. I can tell you about the models that are there under consideration, and they're looking for the best TV available, and so they're looking at pretty expensive high-end sets. They're not looking at the more affordable ones, although they will probably have a Vizio there, a Vizio 1080p. They've got some 1080ps and they've got some UHD 4Ks, so that's going to be an interesting process too. I don't quite know how they're going to, if they're going to evaluate them together or separately and give the award to the best UHD 4K TV or the best 1080p TV. There will be some OLEDs there. No 4K OLEDs, interestingly enough, but a couple of 1080p OLEDs. So it'll be a very interesting thing. And Home Theater Geeks week after next, the Thursday after next weekend, will be a recap of that event with the owner of Value Electronics, one of the calibrators who calibrates all the TVs, and my associate at AVS Forum, Mark Henninger, who will attend the event. It's in Scarsdale, New York. And if anybody is interested, there may still be some seats left. I don't know if there are or not, but go to valueelectronics.com and you should be able to contact Value Electronics and request a seat if you would like to attend, if you're in the New York area. Hey, Red Penguin, nice to see you as well. Compter asks, have I seen the Sony XBR 900B? I haven't actually seen it yet, but every single review I've read and everybody I've talked to who has seen it is blown away by it. They love it. They think it just looks fabulous. Now, it's edge-lit, and Sony seems to do a better job at LED edge lighting than anybody else, by far. So it's nice and even. The screen is very uniform. I still can't believe it does quote unquote local dimming like a true full array backlit LCD will do, but it's just generally super well regarded, very deep blacks. So so far I've, that's all I can say is from what I've heard, everybody I've heard, it's a fabulous TV. Beatmaster asks, shouldn't we wait until AVRs are on the UHD train? At least we geeks that have more than one input device. Well, this is a great question because the AVR, the AV receiver, of course, is the central switching station. of all the signals. You plug all your source devices into the AVR, and the AVR switches which one you're watching on your TV. And so the AVR has to be able to pass the information that is coming through from, hopefully a 4K device. That requires HDMI 2.0. And this is a little confusing because a lot of AVR manufacturers are now saying, hey, we've got HDMI 2.0. But there's HDMI 2.0 and there's HDMI 2.0. If they don't have the new chipset, which supports a bandwidth of 18 gigabits per second, then their HDMI 2.0 is very limited.
Thank you, Scott.
Here we go.
Joy to the world. All the boys and girls. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Joy to you and me. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. Next week, we were talking just a minute ago with Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guru. Next week, he will talk about something that goes on every year. One of the high-end television retailers has a shootout every year, and it's widely considered to be the definitive kind of ranking of the best TVs out there, and it's time. It goes on for a while, and he'll be talking, I think he's got a friend who's there, so maybe we can talk to him. But he's talking about it. We won't have the results next week, but this is often, you look at this and probably most of these TVs are unaffordable, but it's a good indicator of where televisions are going and what the next big televisions will be. So we'll have a live report from the shootout, the TV. It's Value America or something like that. I can't remember the name of the retailer, but of the shootout. Value Electronics, that's it. The Value Electronics shootout next week. And then we'll have the results the following week. Scott will tell us which TVs they selected. Even that, frankly, is a little bit of an indicator of what people think is the top, the top TVs out there. Any one of the ones they're testing in the shootout probably would be a good buy. So we'll go to Scarsdale next week and see how the shootouts, the HDTV shootout is going. I think they bring in, the top reviewers and all of that. It's a big deal in Scarsdale, New York, each year. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We go back to the phones and Richard, another Richard, this time in Diamond Bar, California. Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Oh, I got a thing here I really need some help with.
Uh-oh.
I've got an older computer that operated on Windows 98 SE.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah, I know.
Could have been worse. Could have been Windows ME. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, what I'm trying to do is mainly the primary focus is to get the photos off of it that I have. I have a little over 1,000 photos on there that absolutely have to get off there. And I took it to a store to the tech people and asked them to just do a data download, onto a flash drive and get it back to me, because I had tried everything I knew to do. This operated, it had a CD player and a floppy disk player.
But my suggestion is not to try to do it with the computer running, but just take the drive out. What did they do?
They said they tried everything they knew to do, and they couldn't get it to, sync up with anything.
Okay, so what you want to do is forget this. Is it a desktop computer? It's a tower case?
Yes.
You can easily open it and remove the hard drive?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So the hard drive itself is what you care about. You don't care about anything else. And what we want to do is we want to get the hard drive out of that computer, not try to boot Windows 98. Forget that. You're going to connect it to a modern computer via USB and copy the data that way. So you can get a couple of different things. Now, that age computer, that is not a SATA drive. That is an IDE drive. So you need a IDE enclosure, or you can go to Newer Tech, and they make actually, this is a really good use case for this Newer Tech. They call it the Universal Drive Adapter. And it allows you to attach to almost any drive, including IDE interfaces. It's about 30 or 40 bucks. It's not for long-term use. It's not an external enclosure for that drive. You could get that if you wanted to keep using the drive. I wouldn't. But what it'll do is it'll turn that drive into a USB drive. Now, it's still out in the open, all the electronics and stuff. So, it's not for long-term use. It's just for that one time. You have a more modern computer, I presume?
Well, yeah. Yeah, the newer, more modern one is operating on Windows XP. Great.
As long as it's a Windows machine, it'll read the FAT32 hard drive. So, because it's formatted in the old, the old FAT32, not NTFS. It might even be FAT16 if it's really old. So that's fine. The Windows will continue to read it. You can go out and get a case if you wanted to keep it, but I wouldn't. At that age, that drive's just limping along. And in fact, it may be that drive is dead, and that may be why they couldn't get it out. If you brought it to somebody competent, I would think the first thing they do is take it out of that computer and attach it to something like this. Did you watch them do it, or did they actually try to do it by booting up the computer?
They tried to boot it up.
Okay, so they were morons.
I left it with them.
Okay, so they were morons. Don't believe anything they say, because that's stupid. That's just dumb. And they had the equipment there to take. Well, unless they're what we. That's like not very competent, which maybe they're not. They would have had the equipment there to take it out, connect it up, and read it. So booting up the computer is a bad idea. You don't want to boot it up in that computer. You can only cause more damage to the drive. So I would hope that
the computer was operating fine because I could use it. But the only way I could get anything off of it, it wouldn't recognize any USB.
I know. I'm telling you. Listen to me. Don't use that computer. Take the drive out of the computer. Hook it up to a USB interface. Plug it into a new computer and pull your data off. Thank you very much. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Tommy in Buffalo, New York. Sometimes shouting works. Tommy, how are you?
Hi, Leo.
What can I do for you?
I'm a big fan, and it's Tony.
Tony, Tommy. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. Hi, Tony.
That's okay. I'm calling on behalf of my mom. She's got a Windows 8.1 desktop.
Okay.
And I'm talking to you on it right now, by the way. And
oh, that's neat. You're using Skype?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. It sounds good.
Oh, cool. The other day I was here surfing the web on Chrome, and it kept, well, I don't know. It was crashing. It was acting weird.
Yeah.
So I uninstalled it.
Okay.
And then I went to reinstall it.
Oh.
And it will not let me do that.
What does it say?
It says something about the group permissions.
Huh. Okay, it sounds like something has screwed up in your computer. Oh, that was a good answer. It sounds like the hard drive may in fact be having problems. If you can't install an application, a couple of things are possible. One, you may not be a administrator, but I'm sure you are. You wouldn't have suddenly changed that. The other is that the old installation of Chrome, and this is what I think happened, somehow the file permissions on those folders got changed. You don't own them anymore. And so that tends to happen when there's hard drive errors, that kind of thing. It may not be sophisticated, but it does sound like there's something gone wrong with the old folders. So uninstalling it didn't really fix it. This is not a business computer. You're the only user of this computer, right? You are the administrator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
It's not like somebody came and changed the group policy. No.
No.
Yeah. So something went wrong with the either the registry or the hard drive, or sometimes a cosmic ray. I know it sounds like a joke, but it actually can happen. A cosmic ray can hit the hard drive in just the right way, flip just the right bit. It's 1 in a million, but it can happen. And that bit was the bit that said, "Hey, you own this."
Well, Leo, I want to tell you, this is a brand new computer.
Oh, that's a bad sign. Yeah.
No, everything's fine.
Yeah.
This is a problem with Chrome. I want to give you this. In the error, when I try to reinstall it, it gives you this website to go to for help. And I went there and I was like, huh?
Is the website a Google site?
Yeah, it was http://goo.gl.
.gl.
GL, yeah, /u capital J, 9.
I don't need the site. I don't need
capital V.
Yeah, I don't really need the site.
Well, when I went there, it's a group permissions thing, and it says you have to use some kind of editor to change the group permissions.
So this is used by businesses, the group policy editors used by businesses to control what you can do. That's why I asked you if she was using a computer that was from work. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Like I said, it could be it came from the factory, set up in a strange way. Who'd you buy it from?
Oh, I see. Okay. Actually, I got it. A guy at work bought it for his son, and then his son decided he wanted to go to college. 2 weeks later, wanted a laptop.
All right.
Sold it to me.
Hey, we got to run because I hear the magic music. This is a tough one to figure out. I'll tell you when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. We talk on this show about computers, the internet, smartphones, home theater, digital photography, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. We have a great website. Everything I talk about is linked there, techguylabs.com. We were talking to Tommy. He's got a brand new Windows 8.1 machine. And he's having a very weird problem because he can't install Chrome. Well, Chrome stopped working. He uninstalled it, and now it won't reinstall because he's getting a group policy error. It's saying you're not allowed to install Chrome. Is that an accurate description, Tommy? Of the?
Yes, exactly.
And it's now. The guy who bought it for his son didn't mess with it, presumably. It was in the box, and the son said, no, I need a laptop, so he sold it to you.
Exactly, yeah, and I think he only had it for like 2 weeks.
What's the brand name?
It's a Acer all-in-one desktop.
Presumably it came with some discs, or at least it gave you the option to burn some discs, something like that. Is that right? It
did, and I haven't done that yet. And I think I can still do it.
First thing to do, always do that. Because those recovery discs, there's the way they do it nowadays, mostly because Microsoft is so terrified of piracy. They don't give you what every company should do, and the premium computers do is give you a disk. This is your Windows installer. In fact, the best thing is if it were a pure Windows installer. Most companies don't do that. They'll give you system recovery disks, or they give you an option to burn them, which is the least desirable situation. There's a partition, a special partition on that has the Windows installer on it, and it will make a Windows install disk or a recovery disk. The difference between the two is the Windows install disk is just pure Windows. The recovery disk has all the extra stuff that that Acer put on there, all their special trialware and junk. But that's, so my suggestion is make that disk if you can now. Because one easy way to fix this, you haven't gone too far down the road. Have you used it very much?
Well, she uses it daily, not very much. In fact, I installed Firefox on it today so I could call you up.
Well, Firefox is fine. I mean, but you do want to figure out why Google Chrome is being blocked.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, one thing you could do, now this is going to be maybe not desirable if she's already been using it, is first of all, you should make those disks. That's okay. Anybody gets a new computer, first thing you do, make those disks. You need those disks and put them somewhere safe. So make those disks. You can, in worst case, just run them, and it will wipe the drive. It'll make it as it was from the factory. And at that point, you should be able to, that will fix whatever is going wrong.
I see, okay.
But obviously that's not too desirable right now.
Yeah, because then I have to do all that.
Yeah, so you have to redo all that stuff.
Right.
To chat room, does any of this ring a bell? I don't know why all of a sudden you'd be getting these group policy errors. That doesn't sound like the kind of thing that should happen.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
And it's like, she likes to play solitaire, and I had a solitaire game that I paid like $1.99 for that's in Google Chrome. So when she opens the browser, she can just click on it and play the game, and now that's gone, So
it is, this is group policy is something that that businesses use because the business might decide, we don't want you to install your own software or whatever. You are running as administrator, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she has a Microsoft account,
For some reason, I don't. This wouldn't make sense. It seems to me there's something gone wrong with the drive. And try a refresh. You can make those disks, and when you run them, it'll say, "Oh, I see you already have Windows installed. Would you like to refresh it?" Try that. It is a great puzzlement to me why this is happening. It's just an error. And by the way, this is why I tell people don't buy Windows computers. Just really don't. In fact, nowadays, we had a very interesting conversation the other day. One of my good friends and a host of one of our podcasts, Jeff Jarvis, professor of journalism at City University, New York, said, my Mac died. I'm not going to buy another computer. He's a writer. He writes books. He is a blogger. He's very famous. He goes, speaks to Google events and all sorts of stuff all the time. And he says, I don't think I need a computer anymore. I think a smartphone, a tablet, and perhaps a Chromebook are all I need. And I think for probably almost everybody, it's all they need. Now with cloud storage, very powerful Chrome extensions, you don't need the complexity of Windows. And this is the kind of complexity you get. If this were a Chromebook, I'd say, I'll just power wash it, which is a simple, process from the settings menu. It would start over the way it came from the factory. You wouldn't need any disks. All her data would be safe because it would be stored in the cloud. It's not stored on the computer. It's stored in Google Drive. It'd be very simple. But Windows, because it's a full-blown computer system, is much, much more complicated. Mac too, to some degree. I mean, these are multi-purpose computers, and to some degree, they require an IT professional to keep them running. It's not unusual to get questions like this, which is weird. Somebody in the chat room has pasted a long instruction. Open the registry editor. Navigate to blah, 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 right-click on a key, select... see, this is exactly why I don't think most people should be buying computers, Windows computers. This exact instruction. It's ridiculous. We'll put it in the show notes, but I don't recommend anybody do it. Because in doing this, it might fix the problem, and it might make the computer unbootable, and it's too complex. More and more people are saying, I don't need a full-blown computer. A Chromebook, a tablet, a lot of people an iPad. If all she's doing is playing solitaire, reading email, and surfing the web, an iPad would be better and much less prone to these kinds of problems. The people who need computers these days are people who are pro users who are doing heavy-duty video or photo editing. They're writing software. These are the professional users. Steve Jobs said they're trucks. Most people don't need a truck anymore. They just need something simple. And people who know that they need trucks will get trucks and will probably, in all likelihood, be able to keep them maintained and running and solve problems like this. It sounds like there's two possibilities on this computer. Either an IT guy did get a hold of it and Group Policy Editor was installed and some changes were made. If he bought it through his work, maybe he did. Maybe that's what happened. Otherwise, something's gone wrong. Fixing it is non-trivial. Best way to fix it would be either to try the Windows installer, refresh, see if that fixes it. It probably won't, which means a full reinstall. And that's why it's crazy to be running Windows, especially for the kinds of things most of us do most of the time. It's probably not much help. I don't know how much more help I can give you. This needs a pro to sit down and at the keyboard. It's like only so much I can do reaching out through the telephone. Marty in Lancaster, California, you're next. Hi, Marty. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Good show today. Good topics, and good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Two topics I had that I'll be brief on. The Marketing Mavericks show. I hope that possibly that show takes the option to become a how-to-do-it show instead of showcasing what the corporosos are doing. Something more like know-how for those of us who need to locate a target market or the how-to. That would be a neat thing if it moved that way. And
he's talking about he's talking about our podcast network and a particular show on that. Send me an email or send Tanya an email, and we can address that. What else can I do for you?
Well, I saw your great
time's up. I gotta run. Hang on, okay? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. So Marty, you had something about triangulation too, and then we'll get to your question. I don't like to talk too much about my other business, but I know a lot of you watch some of those shows. That's the podcast network I run, Twit.
Oh well, then I'll confine it to the.
Send me an email because a lot of they were on 200 stations all over the country. Most people don't even know what these shows are. I wish they would, and they can go to twit.tv and find out more. But meanwhile, what's your question?
Well, have you read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers?
I have. Love it. Fabulous book.
Yeah, the crux of the thing was that there was an opportune timing and availability of technology when those cruxes came together, like Bill Joy having a computer system available at night.
He noted, and I think that this, by the way, is one of the insights in the book that I'm not sure is exactly right, but he noted that most of the stalwarts of the technology revolution were roughly the same age as me, by the way, which is why I know that's not true. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Bill Joy, you mentioned. And it was exactly right. It was a timing thing. They were at the right place at the right time with their skills, and that's a magical thing. But I think it's easy to say, oh well, look at all. But that's now, and then in a few years, maybe it'll be another group of people like Mark Zuckerberg. In fact, even now, as time goes by, we're looking at people like Ev Williams, Mark Zuckerberg, another group of people in their 20s and 30s who have made equal strides. So I don't know that. That implies that it's done, and it's not. It's far from done. We're just in the infancy of technology. He also noted in that book, which I thought was true, that it takes roughly 10,000 hours of practice to become expert at something.
Yeah, well, I'm basically in video engineering for post-production. As those systems have become a little more obsolete and used less because now we have shooting cameras that record to memory instead of tape.
That's right.
My job of maintaining tape machines is becoming obsolete. So I'm making a move into home theater with thinking that's a good parallel move. But
I agree.
I wanted to get your opinion with Kevin Rose was a good example of opportunity. Well,
there's an example. He's 30. He's in his late 30s, 37 years old. He's considerably younger than Gates and Jobs and that are my cohort, the 50-somethings. But he's had plenty of opportunity, and the opportunity for him was the app revolution, right? Mobile. When nobody predicted this would happen, by the way, nobody knew it would happen. That people would start using their mobile phones as computers, and that the applications designed for those mobile platforms would be incredibly successful and valuable. $6 billion for WhatsApp. Wow.
Yeah, just as he was had a unique opportunity of timing, I wonder if you could speculate on what areas of technology that you feel are on that spurt of evolving into a growth phase. That because I remember Kevin had said in an earlier interview that what he found were most valuable employees to work for him on the project at Dig were those who could pick up and run with the new technology very quickly.
Yeah, that was a very valuable lesson that Kevin taught me, which is you don't hire people for their current skill set. You say, well, I've got a job to do, and I need to have somebody who's good at that job. And especially in a software startup like his, you hire people for their intelligence, their willingness and energy and passion for learning, because the current skill set isn't necessarily what they're going to need for the next thing and the next thing after that. So that's a good lesson for you too, and for all of us as we face this new world. It's not necessarily that we have the skill set required. In fact, I'm on the board of the high school my kids went to. It's a nonprofit, and there's always that tension in schools. Parents want you to learn how to use Word, Microsoft Word, or how to keyboard. And it seems to me those skills are less valuable than kind of a broader range of skills of learning how to learn, getting a passion for the technology, and not for any particular skill, because as times change, the particular skill you need is going to change. I think using Office products, Microsoft Word and Excel, isn't as important, and it will in the next 10 years become less and less important as we move to the cloud, for instance. However, my ability to predict and my history of predictions is not good because this stuff changes. It changes so rapidly. As I said, I don't think anyone knew that apps would be the next big thing. But it's certainly true that if you know how to code, if you know how to write software, and I don't mean know how to use PHP or Perl or C++ or C#, that's not the key. If you understand how to solve problems algorithmically, if you know how to make, machinery do your bidding, that's a valuable skill. Not any particular language, but the overall skill. And I think that going forward is going to be valuable. The understanding of how networking works is going to be valuable. Security. Network security, that is a job that is not going away. The hackers have only gotten better. It's often difficult to predict the future, especially in technology, because the big jumps in technology are what we call paradigm shifts. They're unexpected, sudden changes that are just difficult to predict. I think I correctly predicted the mobile revolution. I talked about this last week. There's a video of me in the mid-90s with a Newton, of all things, saying, boy, if you could shrink this down, make it always on the internet, give it a touch screen, this thing would be really useful. I think you could see that coming. And certainly the internet is just in its beginning stages. You might think, and I think a lot of people do, oh, it's mature, it's developed, we know what it's going to be, we know what the big stories are, the big inventions. It's like that patent inspector in the turn of the 20th century, 1910, who said everything that's going to be invented has been invented. We don't need a patent office anymore. Boy, was he wrong. The beginning of the most fertile era of innovation and invention in human history at the turn of the century there. And he thought everything had been invented. But of course, that's how we always think, isn't it? Because these paradigm shifts are unpredictable. We can't see them coming. I wish we could. So I guess if you're asking, here I am, a tape expert, what should I go into next? One thing is to leverage your current skills into whatever the next thing is in video, certainly. But I think the ability, and certainly when you're talking about kids, the ability to learn how to think is so much more valuable than any particular skill. I see kids in high school learning Java, and I just shake my head. That's not going to teach them anything valuable or useful. That's last year's skill. 8888 Ask Leo. More of your calls right after this. I have no idea. I'm the wrong guy to ask. My time is over. I'm heading into the twilight years. Not the future. I'm the past. Ask a 20-something. They don't know either, though. Yeah, but the problem is you're learning stuff with Java that is really wrong. It's really not good to learn, I think. I'm of a weird school, which is a small school, but I think correct, that the language, the way to learn computer programming is not to learn a language, but to learn a more general skill of expressing problems in a syntax and then solving them in that syntax. And for that, I think Lisp is right. Oh, my God. Now I really am dating myself. But all of the great programmers of our time started with Lisp. Hey, speaking of Lisp, it's Johnny Jet. Where are you, Johnny Jet?
I'm in Toronto.
He doesn't lisp. I don't know why I said that. And you can't lisp with Johnny Jet. I was trying to, and there's no way to lisp the name Johnny Jet. So...
This is because I have a lisp?
No, you don't have a lisp.
Okay, good.
I was talking about the programming language Lisp.
I see.
So and I wish people still did this. The MIT used to teach programming with this, the structure and interpretation of programming languages, SICP. And you can actually still get this book. It's sad because they lost the domain, which really kills me. They didn't even keep the domain. If you Google SICP, the MIT Press gives this away now, which is nice. Where's my screen? There it is. So you can download the book, and then this teaches you in Lisp. But the point is that the syntax is not important. The idea of understanding things like recursion is fundamental to understanding. They say this isn't about teaching how to control a computer. So many programming courses are about how to control a computer, how to get it to do what you want. That's not what this is about. This is about, I'll go to the introduction. This is about teaching people how to think, which is kind of why they teach math. Computer language is not just a way of getting a computer to perform operations, but rather a novel, formal medium for expressing ideas about methodology. And if you start at that level, it's a different thing. We believe the essential material to be addressed by a subject at this level is not the syntax of a particular programming language, nor clever algorithms, nor even the mathematical analysis of algorithms, but rather the techniques used to control the intellectual complexity of large software systems. So they attack it from a different direction. And they even say this is good for liberal arts majors because this is skills everybody needs. It's really, really super cool. Computer science is not a science. Its significance has little to do with computers. The computer revolution is a revolution in the way we think and the way we express what we think. It's very interesting. Johnny Jet, world traveler, is here in his big old jet airliner. You can find him at johnnyjet.com and on the Twitter at Johnny Jet, on Instagram at Johnny Jet. And today you're in where?
In Toronto, Canada.
Ah.
Last week I was in Cooperstown, New York. I did a little baseball Hall of Fame
it's easy to get
action.
to Toronto from Cooperstown. You could almost walk.
I actually flew from Albany, which is an hour and a half ride from Cooperstown, to Detroit to Erie, Pennsylvania to go see my sister.
Wow.
And that ticket, one-way ticket, was $700.
Holy cow. And you really weren't going very far, were you?
No, I was going like 400 miles. I was going to drive, but renting a car and dropping it off was really expensive. And so then to get up to Toronto, since I was in Toronto, I was like, I got to go see my wife who lives in Toronto and I live in Los Angeles. And so I was going to fly up to Toronto, but it was basically the same price. And so I was like, you know what? I looked at other options and the bus. So my name this week is Johnny Bus, because I took Greyhound from Erie to Buffalo.
Wow.
And then to Buffalo to Toronto. And I just wrote a post on it because I had some good experiences and bad. But, actually, the bus fare was pricing out. It was $52 if I was going from Erie to Toronto. But great. I realized if you break it up into one-way tickets, it was even cheaper. So if I broke it up into one-ways, it was $12 to Buffalo and $20 to Toronto. And I mean, I was like, it saved me 40% almost just by breaking it into one way. So I think
we never nowadays think about bus travel. We never think about that. But that's a perfectly legitimate way to get around. How about train? Did you look at the train?
You know, they don't have a good train system here.
It's sad.
Up here.
You know, we really should have kept our train system.
Oh, I mean, I usually take the train all around Europe.
Yeah.
But for here, and anyway, so Greyhound says they have free Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi would not work.
No.
On the bus from Erie to Buffalo, there were some sketchy characters on it.
Oh, you know, that Erie to Buffalo run is well known for sketch. It's the Damon Runyon of bus trips. I mean, yeah, absolutely full of sketchy characters, racetrack touts, and ladies of ill repute. I'm sure it's just.
I recommend sitting in the front of the bus, close to the driver. But going from going to Toronto. It was mostly people who were Canadian because they saved so much money by going out of Buffalo than they do out of Toronto because of taxes and fares. For example, you can fly Buffalo, LA, for around $230 or to $300, but from Toronto to LA is about $600 round trip. So if you have a family of 4, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, but you're saying bring your taser. Especially in that Buffalo to Erie run.
They were just a little rough.
Sit by the driver.
They were running off the smoke every minute.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that was my little tip. So United made the news this week.
Yes.
United Airlines, they were actually the first ones to launch mobile boarding passes in 2007. The first U.S. airline.
That's pretty cool. I've done it. You have the boarding pass on your smartphone. It's a QR code, little card, machine readable code. You hold it up. TSA guy reads it, skip, go through.
Yep.
It really works.
So they just came out this week. They're the first U.S. airline to come out with, they'll scan your passport for international travel 24 hours in advance.
So you can take a picture of it? How do you do that?
Exactly. So instead of going to the airport when you're flying internationally and, your travel agent or you forgot to input it online, you can scan it and it will put all the information in there. So it will save you time when you're flying, although I have not flown United in a while because they need some help, but they're getting hopefully a little
tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that, and I know I'm not wrong because my ex-wife lost her passport in Paris, and I had the foresight to make high-quality copies of the passport and keep them in a couple of different places. One I keep in Evernote, which is so it's always on my phone. And then one I keep in luggage, checked luggage, so that in case of a problem.
I don't know about you scan your passport and you print it up and put it in your luggage.
Just one page, just the front, just the page with your picture.
I would not put it in your luggage, so
because you don't want to lose that, huh?
Yeah, but everyone should scan their passport and put it on a remote server or
saying somewhere
email that
safe.
You never use. Yeah, because that happens.
Well, when she lost her passport, it was very helpful to have a copy to bring in.
Without a doubt. I mean, everyone in the old days, people would keep a paper copy with you, separated from your other personal belongings. But these days, you can load it up, scan it, and
keep it on Evernote. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the way to go. But so
you don't. Are you saying if I kept it in my luggage, you'd be afeared that somebody would steal it?
Well, you just don't want that kind of information floating around. If someone takes that luggage or the airline loses it, you don't need to have that. Out there.
I'll stop putting it in my luggage.
I would give it to.
I got it on my phone. It's on every computer. I can log into my Evernote account anywhere, and there it is.
Exactly. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I got a website for you. So while I was on the bus, actually, when I was going to take the bus,
lots of time to think, Johnny Jet?
there was lots of time, but I went up to the Greyhound counter. I said, "Is the bus on time?" And the guy's like, "We think so. Last time we heard it was." And I was like, why don't they have the same technology as Uber or require the drivers to send a glimpse? So, when I was driving, Natalie was going to come pick me up in Toronto, and she was like, where are you? So I just sent her a glimpse, which is so easy to do. You download it. It's a free app. I'm sure you used it before.
I love Glimpse. GLYMPSE.
You download it, and you can say, who to send the glimpse to, how long you want to have it active for.
Yeah.
And she's like, it was so accurate. She knew exactly when to get out of the car.
Well, she can see you a little dot traveling down the highway
and
inching closer to Toronto, and she knows exactly when you're going to arrive.
So if you're ever taking a bus or even when I'm flying and I'm using in-flight GoGo Wi-Fi, I will send a glimpse to whoever I'm going to meet.
I use Glimpse all the time because I'm always late for everything. So I just send them a text that says, I know I'm going to be late. Watch my dot slowly approach.
And you can even share it to your social media, which you don't really want to do, but in case, sometimes you want to do it, you can let everyone know.
Whenever we send Father Robert Balaser, one of our hosts, down to Vegas for CES, he glimpses his trip so we can watch him driving through the desert. We can see when he speeds. It's always great fun.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't require the drivers to do it on Greyhound. I mean, come on. Why do you want to guess when the
we should know where
the
I'm sure they have a smartphone, or they could just put a GPS in the bus. I bet you Greyhound knows where its buses are, and if they don't, well, they oughta.
Well, they should let the passengers know too.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea.
But they do have electrical outlets, by the way, on the bus, which is good.
Oh, that's nice. So you can have your.
Just can't depend on the Wi-Fi.
Somebody said it works. It's just very, very slow, but it generally does work. Yeah.
And plus, it's not secured, so I don't know with some of those characters on the back.
I don't think the Damon Runyon types are carrying laptop computers with hacking software on it. I think you're all right in that regard.
I'm just messing around. But so there's a couple deals, by the way. I'm about to send my deals newsletter. So $345 LA to Anchorage round trip, including all taxes on Delta, and also Delta's having a fare from Newark to Aruba round trip for $287.
If you're in Newark, Aruba sounds pretty good right about now. And a lot of people go up to Alaska now for the salmon. This would be a good time if you're a salmon fisherman.
And it's good for August, the end of August.
Oh, that's awesome. Johnny Jet, he's got his travel newsletter. It's free at johnnyjet.com. And if you go to his Twitter account, you'll see he's made lists of every airline. It's such a useful thing. Go there and see his lists, maybe add them to your lists, because it's very handy to have if you want to keep track of stuff. The Twitter seems to be now the way companies communicate with their customers more than ever.
For sure.
Thank you, Johnny. Have a great time in Toronto. You going to be there for a while? Or?
No, I was actually supposed to go to New York today, but the
bus was
my
late.
Trip by a couple days.
Oh,
the bus was late.
Johnny Jet, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. Thank you, JJ.
All right, welcome. I saw the time. I was like, you know what? I better not bring up another website. I had another website.
You did it perfectly.
I was like, it's got to be done soon.
You did it perfectly.
Okay, good. I'm glad you.
It was like a trained professional. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Back to the phones we go. And Jose in La Habra, California, you're next. Hi, Jose.
Hi, hello. Thank you. Thanks for taking the call, Leo.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for hanging on, too. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. So my question is, my son's iPod says it's disabled on the screen, and it says, try again in 23,393 minutes.
That's, I would say, a bug. It's disabled in what sense? You can't use it?
Yeah, you can't use it at all. So what I tried is pushing the power button and the top button on the iPod itself, and then it resets it, but then the same message comes back on.
Oh, I don't know. That's a strange message. It sounds like, I've never heard that message. It's try again in 23 million seconds, huh?
Yeah, 23,393,000 minutes.
How many years is that?
I calculated that in 1 year is about 14,000 minutes. So I'm not sure exactly how many.
We're talking a lifetime.
Exactly.
That is a great error message. Obviously, the computer's confused, right?
Because, it also has the date of Wednesday, December 31st. Now, I'm not sure if it changes days.
Oh. But now, is this this is an iPod Touch, right?
Right, an iPod Touch.
So it's disabled because he tried to enter the password 10 times and failed. Is that right?
Okay. You know what? I don't know the details. All I know is my son was charging it. And we do have a 2.5-year-old in the family, and she might have.
That's all it takes. Just bang, 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 bang. That's probably what happened. There's a couple of things you can do.
Okay.
I think a restore is sufficient. That's the simplest thing to do. Plug it into a computer with iTunes on it.
Okay, got it.
And just restore it. Now you'll lose whatever songs are on there.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we can restore it because we have our account, so we can restore it from our iTunes account, I imagine.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially if you've paid for the $25 a year for iTunes Match. Then that's great.
Oh, okay.
So if you enter the wrong passcode 6 times in a row, you'll get this iPhone or iPod is disabled. The weird thing is it normally says try again in a minute.
Exactly.
But now it's 23 million minutes. That's enough time that you probably don't want to wait.
No.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. We'll put this in the show notes. This is a support page on Apple's website, support.apple.com. If you want to try and find it, it's support knowledge base article HT1212.
Okay.
And it has the steps to restore it. Restoring it will work. Shouldn't be a problem.
Got it.
And it gives you, in fact, 3 more dramatic steps as if the restore doesn't work, including the recovery mode. But I think that the restore will work fine.
Okay.
Yeah, your 1-year-old just kind of messed with it too long.
Yeah.
How many million minutes?
It says 23,393,875 minutes.
Oh my! I wonder if Google can calculate how many years that is. Let me just ask it. How many years is that? That's 44 and a half years.
Oh my God!
So I mean, it still will be good in 44 years, but you might want to try just restoring it instead.
That's funny. I'm 44 years old.
You'll be 88
exactly
when it starts working again. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I hope you didn't wait 23 million minutes to get on. I appreciate your patience. Jason in San Diego, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
Very well. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm stoked to get through.
Well, I'm glad you did. And what can I do for you? You said you're an artist?
Yeah, I'm an artist, and a couple different friends of mine want me to illustrate their children's book.
Awesome.
But I'm in the market for like a drawing tablet.
Now, there's. Do you mean a device that you hook up to your computer that you draw on, or do you mean a tablet like an iPad that you draw on?
Like a device that I hook up to the computer to draw on.
Yeah.
So I was looking into like the Intuos.
Yes, the Wacom is the name. Everybody uses Wacom, WACOM.com, and they have a variety of choices. The Intuos is excellent. The Cintiq might be a little pricey for you.
Yeah, it's pretty pricey.
And the idea of the Cintiq is it's a monitor. You're drawing on the screen. And that's more natural. Have you ever used a computer to create art?
I use like Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop.
Okay. And you use your mouse?
Yeah.
So you're already used to the idea that you're drawing on one surface and it's coming out on the computer screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cintiq is for artists who've never used a computer, who want to paint like they're painting on canvas, except that it's a computer screen. And so it's very intuitive. In fact, people like Bert Monroy, who's one of the best Photoshop artists in the world, he uses a Cintiq, but he can afford it. He makes a lot of money on his paintings. No, I think you're in the right place. The Intuos is one of their higher end solutions. They have less expensive ones. You might want to try. Something like, do they still make the bamboo? I'm just looking at all of their choices here. But you're on the right place because Wacom is the company. In fact, if you were to get a Samsung tablet with touch, it has Wacom hardware and software built into it. These guys are the best. So, what you're looking for probably is the largest size, because if it's small and you're drawing on a big screen, it's a little weird. So get the biggest size you can, and you want pressure sensitivity. That's really nice. When you use the stylus, just as when you use a pencil, you press harder on a pencil, the line gets thicker, right, and darker.
Yeah.
You want it to do that as well on the screen, and that's one reason the iPad's not a great choice. It doesn't have any pressure sensitivity, but I think all of Wacom's tablets do. And so the pressure sensitivity, the largest size you can get, it's going to be USB. What software do you use? Are you going to use Adobe to do this, or
Adobe? Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll all work just fine with it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Really, I love Wacom. WACOM.com. And they used to make a very inexpensive solution, the bamboo. If you just, playing around, the bamboos, I don't know if they still make it now. It looks like they don't make the tablet anymore. Maybe they do, the bamboo wireless. Yeah, they do. The bamboo pad. That's inexpensive for people who aren't really serious. Then if you're fairly serious about your art, the Intuos stuff is really, really fantastic. And of course, Cintiq, if you can afford it, because it's thousands of dollars. All good products. My friend Bert Monroy has been using them for years. And if it's good enough for Bert, I'm no artist. But my mom is, and actually I gave her I'm trying to think, I think I gave her an Intuos for Christmas last year, as well as a stylus for her iPad, because she likes to just sketch on the iPad. But there's nothing like Wacom. 8888, Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, one of the web cartoonists says he loves his Surface Pro. It's hard to recommend the Surface Pro unless you need Windows. Probably better just to get a Wacom and plug it into your existing stuff. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy, Hour 3 of the Tech Guy Show. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Website, techguylabs.com. That's where you'll find all the information we talk about on the show and a chance to comment if you have a thought, something to add. It's very frequent that people listening go, oh, you know, or Leo's full of it, or, you know, that kind of thing. Just go to techguylabs.com to put your 2 cents in. Maybe there's another tablet besides Wacom. By the way, it is pronounced Wacom. Big discussion in the chat room. How do you pronounce W-A-C-O-M? According to the company, the name is derived from the Japanese symbol for harmony, which is Wa. So maybe I should say Wacom. I don't know. But that's where that name comes from, and that's how they want you to pronounce it, Wacom or Wacom. Wacom. And a good place to get your tablets, in my opinion. Moving on, we've got Sarah on the line from Santa Barbara, California. Hi, Sarah. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, my boyfriend and I are using his Panasonic Blu-ray disc player. We're watching the movie, and then about in the middle of the movie, it freezes, and then it gets pixelated, and then it doesn't go forward.
Oh. Does it do that on all discs, or was it just that movie?
It seems like it does it with most discs.
Ah.
And it's a 2011 disc. Player.
So a Blu-ray player, actually any DVD player, is really just a computer. The discs themselves are the software. They're recorded digitally with, you know, pits and bumps that read as ones and zeros, actually zeros and ones. And all the computer's doing is kind of reading those zeros and ones with a laser, and that's the data, and it's taking it in very quickly. And then it has to, of course, decompress the data and send it out digitally also via the HDMI port to your TV. So it's a little computer, and you know computers can sometimes go wrong. If it were just one disc, I would say it's probably that disc. But since it does it on most discs, it's either damaged or it could be dirty. Sometimes you can clean the laser. This is not an easy thing to do and not recommended, frankly, because the laser can be, if you like reach in and clean it, can get out of alignment, and then it won't read anything. I would say bring it into a shop and have them clean it, but the problem is it's not worth it. The Blu-ray players now are a dime a dozen. They're cheap. So if it's a, you know, PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4, something you know is not cheap, then bring it to the shop and have them clean it. If it is just a Blu-ray player and that's all it does, you can go out and get a Blu-ray player for $40 or $50. It would cost you more probably to just get it cleaned. I don't know if they make cleaning discs. I don't think they do. I don't think there's any way to do that safely. They used to. Remember on DVDs, you could, and CD players, you can buy a cleaning disc. I don't think that was ever a good idea. It could also be there's other physical damage to it. One thing the chat room is saying is it's possible, since it is a computer, that there's a firmware update that would make this work. You know, a lot of times when you put I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you put a new movie in a Blu-ray player, it'll say, okay, I'm going to go out on the internet and get updated. You can thank the movie industry's paranoia for this one. This is part of the copy protection scheme. They found with DVDs that literally within months of the release of the DVD technology, the DVD format, a high school student from Scandinavia cracked it and was able to figure out what the key is for decrypting the movie. And the problem was there was one key. And once it was decrypted, once it was discovered, which DVD John did many moons ago, there was no way that DVD encryption could ever work again. And so ever since, it's been trivial to crack a DVD. There's no piracy protection really on it. So when Blu-ray came along, the Blu-ray folks said, how can we prevent that? Well, we could have updatable keys. So if somebody like DVD John comes along, we'll just change the key. But that requires an updatable Blu-ray player. So most Blu-ray players, I would say all Blu-ray players, have Ethernet connections or Wi-Fi connections, can be connected to the internet. They should work without it because you can't really demand that everybody connect to the internet. But if yours does connect to the internet, that's another thing you might do, is get a firmware update. And you'll notice when new movies come out, they frequently want to go online and update them. I can't imagine that they'd require that, but maybe they do. It's certainly a requirement when they make the DVD player that it have that capability. I guess what would happen if you weren't online and they did change the key, they've never had to, but if they did change the key, you'd have to get online to fix that. You'd have to plug it in. And I have seen the case where I put in a Blu-ray, in my Blu-ray player, and it goes out online and updates. And I wonder what would happen if I didn't do that, if it would just not play. So a couple of things. It could be a physical damage to the player, or just a dirty laser. It could, or lens, more likely than the laser itself. It could be a software error, in which case putting it online and making sure it's got the latest firmware would be good. But it's generally cleaning, I think, is the kind of thing you want to bring in, the thing to a shop. Do they still have Blu-ray shops? I don't know. And the good news is replacement Blu-ray player, if it's just a Blu-ray player, $30. Cheap. JC on the line, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, JC, from Mississippi.
Hey, Leo. Got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Obviously. What I'm wanting to do, I'm an IT service provider, and one of the things that I do for all of my clients, based on your recommendation, I say, is force them into an offsite backup.
Good.
Well, it is good, and it's been working out great until I got to about my 15th company that is backing up to me, because where I live at, a lot of people don't want to go to the quote-unquote cloud.
Oh, they're backing up to you.
They're backing up directly to me.
Oh.
Well, I have a very close partnership with LogMeIn. That's how I do all my remote administration. So when they came out with Cubby last year, since I had the direct sync option, and all I had to pay was a license per user, or log as an administrator and put in a separate computer with my login on it, either way, that's what I've been using. Well, I decided that I'm tired of paying $40 extra per year per user, because that's kind of defeating the purpose of making money. So I started looking for other alternatives, and I came across BitTorrent Sync, and I came across your May 2013 Security Now.
We've talked about BitTorrent Sync. This is a really interesting technology. It is free because you can sync with other BitTorrent users kind of transparently, and nobody has all your data. But what BitTorrent has yet to do, and I'm sure you heard this, Steve Gibson, our security guy, talking about it, is reveal how BitTorrent Sync works.
Right.
They've never published the source code, so you're putting a little bit of trust into BitTorrent. Now, it's a good company. Despite the fact that a lot of people use BitTorrent to pirate movies, they've never encouraged that. I think BitTorrent Sync is a very interesting technology, and I think as it gets better and better, it might be a very good choice. There's another thing I would take a look at that you might trust more, and it's called, and you maybe heard me talk about it, the transporter, the file transporter. It's from Drobo, which is a well-known and trustworthy company in storage. They make a and your clients could use this, a $99 little dongle that then will synchronize, not to the cloud, but to their network, to this device. And if you have a big hard drive attached to it at your office, to you as well. I would look at this transporter. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, filetransporter.com. Yeah, I think he should not be doing this. I think they should go to carbonite. I'd hate to be responsible. And if your clients, for instance, are physicians, I'm sure you don't have a HIPAA-compliant solution, which they would need. If they're lawyers, you probably are incurring a liability that you may not want to incur. They make Blu-ray cleaning discs. I wouldn't use them. It's interesting. I bet they don't do anything. My Xbox plays music CDs. My Xbox One. I don't know if the PS4 does. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I also built to perform technology solutions. We're talking about BitTorrent Sync. Our caller was running a business in which he would, I guess he's not on the line anymore. No, he's not. So in which he would back up his clients' data himself. Probably not a good idea. If for instance, if your clients are physicians, then they need to have a HIPAA-compliant solution. And, something like carbonite would be a better choice. But if you want to try this out for your own personal use, it's free, bittorrent.com/SYNC. The idea is you put it on a computer at home and a computer at work. You'll get a secret number, which you pass along or you keep track of, and then go to the computer at home and enter it in. And you can synchronize folders, unlimited amounts of data. None of it ever is stored on BitTorrent servers, they say, or on the cloud or anywhere except on your computers. So it essentially synchronizes your computers over the internet, any arbitrary amount of data. Now remember, as with all backup, cloud backup, and this is kind of like cloud backup, just you own the cloud, your upstream bandwidth is going to limit how much data you can share. Most people have what we call some asymmetric internet connections. It's faster download than it is upload. You know that. When you get your internet, they say, oh, you're going to get 5 megabits down, 1 megabit up. And what that means is that when you're transferring the data from your machine to the other machine via BitTorrent Sync, you can only send at a megabit at a time. And in fact, you can't even do that, because if you did send it that fast, it would take up all your bandwidth. You wouldn't be able to download anything either. See, every download requires some upload to acknowledge, yeah, I got that part, give me the next part. Got that part, give me the next part. So you don't want to saturate your upload pipe either. So usually these programs like BitTorrent Sync are careful not to do that, which means you're not even going to get a megabit. You might get half that, which means if you're sharing 100 gigabytes or a terabyte or two of data, it's going to take forever to synchronize. That's something else to keep in mind. You could do the math on the back of an envelope, just how long it's going to take, and you'll realize it's going to take a while. Divide the maximum upstream bandwidth your internet service provider offers you in half, and that's practically all you're going to be able to do. The other thing, as I mentioned, is BitTorrent has never really published the source code for this. We don't know if, for instance, they're doing the encryption right, how safe it is, et cetera, et cetera. I think probably I would say my advice to you, if you're doing this for your clients, it's nice to do it for your clients, but get them to spring a little bit for carbonite or some other service that does this for them. It's just a better way to do it. That'd be my strong suggestion. The liability alone that you incur if something should happen to you and you're the backup, that's not good. 8888 ask Leah. Let's go to Covina right now. And Marie, she's on the line. Hi, Marie.
Hi, thank you very much. I've listened to you for a very long time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you called.
Yeah, me too.
What can I do for you?
I have a MacBook Pro, but I didn't know I need to get a cell phone and also a tablet, and I didn't know whether to stick to the product or go with. You always talk about like Android phones are really good. Like, I don't know if it's the Samsung or...
just because you use a Macintosh computer doesn't mean you have to use an iPhone or an iPad. Fortunately, all tablets, all smartphones work just fine with Macs. So that isn't the critical part of your decision by any means. Nor will you get any advantage because, well, you will someday get an advantage. But right now you won't get any particular advantage because... the way the iPhone works isn't anything like the way the Mac works, so it's not like you already know how to use it or anything. But you'll find it's very easy to use. An iPhone is a very good choice. You know, Apple is going to announce a new iPhone September 9th. It will probably be available by the 19th. That's just 5-6 weeks off. If you can wait, I certainly think that would be something to look at. They will announce new iPads in October, although I don't think there's going to be a big shift. iPads are a fairly mature product. I don't know if there's a whole lot more you can do to make an iPad better. Maybe a better camera, fingerprint reader, that kind of thing. But they're certainly the creme de la creme. I am an Android fan. I use Android phones because I like to have a little more freedom, and that's really what Android offers as opposed to iPhones. iPhone, every app has to be approved by Apple. That could be good. You know, Apple protects you, or does their best to, but it does limit the kinds of applications you can get. I like I feel like Android has, in some respects, lapped iOS in terms of user interface, the widgets, and you know, some of the capabilities are. But that's personal. It's a very personal device, isn't it? Your smartphone. I think a lot of people are very happy with iPhones. And the good news on the iPhone is it's the same price as every other high-end smartphone. There's one phone I would say, is this your first smartphone?
No, but I really haven't had a smartphone for a long time, and I really haven't had a good one.
Yeah. Well, certainly the iPhone is a good one.
Yeah.
On the other,
no doubt that the iPhone's really good, and I don't know when you suggest, like on the Android.
Well, I would look at a Motorola X, and actually the new one of those is imminent as well in the next month or so. Because of all the Android phones, the Moto X does some really interesting things. It listens to you. You can talk to it, search. It knows when you're driving. It knows when you're asleep. It knows when you're in meetings and can respond. Those are things the iPhone can't do, and I find very useful. But really, you know, if you're in the Apple universe and you're comfortable there, and iPad's the best thing out there, iPhone 2, I'd stick with it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. No one ever got fired for buying an Apple. I hate to push people towards Android phones if they've never used a smartphone before, because I think it's maybe a little bit more demanding than an iPhone, which is very straightforward. And the fingerprint reader on the iPhone is really pretty remarkable. Yeah. Well, that's good news too, David Bix. Yeah, I do not like the keyboard. In fact, the reason I switched away from iPhones, in fact, I should talk about this, is the keyboard, because it's terrible. And for me, I got big fat fingers. And then the size of the screen, I wanted a bigger screen. But Apple's going to solve both of those in the next generation. iOS 8 will have interchangeable keyboards. And, of course, the next phone will be a perfect size, which is 4.7 inches. Right now, I'm using this OnePlus One, and I really have to say I just really like this phone. It's a 5.5-inch screen, so it's a very big screen. Although, because it's so thin and light, you don't feel like you've got a ginormous phone in there. And these are some of the things I like Android about. The widgets thing. So, for instance, I've got a time and weather widget. They don't have to run do anything to see the time and weather. And this is voicemail, Google Voice. This is my calendar. And so these are all live. And you can do anything you want. If you want it to look like an iPhone, if you want a simple grid of apps, certainly Android can do that. It's just that it can do more. And I guess that's really the Google Now stuff is built right in, which is really great, You can get it on the iPhone, but you have to launch the Google app to get to it. I think for those reasons, I feel like I like Android an awful lot. It's just more customizable. But see, a lot of people being able to customize it is not a great thing. This is a widget for Google Music. The I feel lucky widget, close, where if I tap that, it will pick a random. See, it's rolling the dice, a random radio station to play, which is kind of fun. So that's what widget. It's playing Juanita by the Flying Burrito Brothers. That's random, all right. Wow, that's super random. And see, this is a much bigger screen than iPhone offers. It's high def. It's 1080p. iPhone doesn't offer that. I don't think the scrolling's laggy. I am running a third-party launcher. I mean, it could be. I think Apple's pretty much copied these notifications now, so the notifications are about the same. I've been using Apex. I like Nova Launcher a lot. Motorola G is less expensive. Yeah, but see, I don't think you're right. I don't think Marie's going to do this stuff. So I think an iPhone for her is a really great, straightforward choice. Same thing with the iPad. Android is really for people who like to mess around with stuff and customize it and play with it and stuff. This OnePlus One, you can't really get it. You have to get an invitation or play a contest to get it. It's a very, very short supply. We were lucky. A viewer had an invitation. He sent us his phone. And I've been very happy with it. 20 hours battery life, too, which is just fantastic. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888, ask Leo. Always difficult to tell somebody what smartphone they'd like the best. And you can go to the stores. They look kind of all the same. They're all basically the same slabs of glass. Some have physical buttons, some don't. But, you know, they all have multi-touch, and they've got a camera. And most of the cameras are all about the same. And so it's really very difficult. And yet when you start to use it, and in fact, when I review phones, I try to use them for full time for at least a week or two before I give you my opinion of it, because it really, you know, once you start using it, you get into it, and then you start to see the differences. Somebody reminded me that one of the reasons I don't use an iPhone, well, there's really two reasons I started using Android phones. One was the iPhone keyboard. You know, Apple's way or the highway. Apple says you use our keyboard. There's no other choice, and I've never liked the iOS keyboard. I have big fat sausage fingers. I have a hard time typing on it accurately. And it bugs me. I can't tell if it's upper or lowercase. All the keys are always uppercase, and I just can never tell reliably, am I in uppercase or lowercase, which means almost every time I enter a password, because all my passwords have mixed cases, I get it wrong the first few times. That only has to happen a few times before you go, I can't stand you. I also think the iPhone has been a little bit left in the dust in terms of screen size. Now, a lot of people like 4-inch screens, but that's kind of, they're awfully small compared to most phones these days. Most phones, a small phone starts at 4.7 inches. That's probably how big the iPhone will be when they announce it next month. And the phone I use today is a 5.5-inch screen. Now, that sounds big. I remember people used to mock me for my 5-inch Galaxy Note 2. And they said, yeah, it's ridiculous. That phone looks stupid. Now everybody's used to it. And what we found is that when a screen is just a little bit bigger, you can use that phone as your primary computer. This is big enough I can read my Kindle books on it. I can watch movies and video on it. I can surf. I can type. It's much easier for me to use, and it's a beautiful screen. And so Apple's been a little bit left behind on that. The rumors are, and I think these are probably true, that Apple will change that. We think the next iPhone will be 4.7 inches, and Apple has announced that they'll have interchangeable keyboards. You'll be able to put in other keyboards, finally, instead of the Apple keyboard. That'll start with the next version of iOS 8. So that's, I think Apple is recognizing that because they only update their phone every other year, effectively, they've been left a little bit behind by Android phones, which can update every other month. And so they've been smart. They take a look at what people like, what they don't like, cherry pick the best ideas, and leave the rest behind. If you're a Mac person, if you're not the kind of person who wants to spend a lot of time customizing their phone, tweaking it, getting it just so, you know, there are two kinds of technology users. There's the people who do it because they love it. It's for fun, right? Often these are people who first experienced computers as gamers. They see the computer as a toy, and then there's the people who use it. It's a functional thing. It's a tool. Often people who first use computers at work, and they think of them as word processors and spreadsheets. And you know, you're one or the other. You're either an enthusiast who sees it as a toy, or looks forward to, installs every update the minute it's available, starts customizing and tweaking them, and looks forward to getting a new device because of the new things they can do. That's one kind. And if you're the kind of person that says, no, it's just I just want to use it to get things done as a phone. I don't want to spend a lot of time learning it, understanding it, playing with it. That's the two kinds of people, tool versus toy. And for people who really just want to see that, the phone is a tool that gets things done, that's effective, it's functional, it's beautiful, the iPhone is a great choice. It's not a tweaker's paradise by any means, but it's a great choice for somebody who just wants to get stuff done. And if you're an enthusiast, I think most enthusiasts have probably moved to Android devices because you can play with it, you can customize it, you can mess around with it. So if you now know which one you are, and I would guess that our last caller was probably more of a tool type. And for Marie, I think an iPhone is probably a good choice. And then, of course, if you get the iPhone, then you've got to get the iPad because then all your apps are the same and your user interface is the same. If you get an Android phone, there are very good Android tablets out there. Excellent Android tablets. Every bit as good as the iPad. And so in that case, you should get an Android tablet. But it's hard for me to say what's exactly right for you. You have to understand yourself. Go visit the Apple Store, play with the iPhone and the iPad. Go visit, another store, Verizon or, whoever your carrier is. Visit their store. And actually, that's probably one stop. You can go play with the iPhone there and some Android devices. My favorite Android devices right now, the HTC One is incredible, gorgeous, beautiful piece of hardware. For people who are iPhone users who want something elegant and beautifully designed, that is a great choice. Love it. The Motorola X, the Moto X, not state-of-the-art. The next generation, I predict, will be. It doesn't have a great camera, just an average camera. It's not a high-res screen. It's just kind of a middle 720p screen. But the size is right. The functionality is there. It's just a great phone. Just a well-thought, a lot of thought went into that phone. That's a great choice. I think the next generation is going to be out so soon, I wouldn't recommend buying that right now. The HTC One is the next generation. Came out recently. Those are excellent choices. I'm not a big Samsung fan. You've heard me say this before. I feel like Samsung junks up their phones. They're the HP of phones. They put a lot of trialware, a lot of junkware on it. They add a lot of features. You can't uninstall them. They're good phones. I mean, the hardware on the Samsung Galaxy S5 is superb. Really is superb. Great camera. Maybe the best camera out there, except for the iPhone, which still is the king. It has a lot of nice features, but it also has a lot of junkware, and I don't like the user interface. It gets in my way, so I don't recommend that as much anymore. 8888 to Ask Leo. That's the phone number. It's the most personal of personal computers. It really is. So it's good to take some time to try them, see how you feel about them. Hold them in the hand. A lot of people, especially women, don't like the larger phones because it's hard to hold it. You can't use it one-handed. 4.7 inches seems to be the perfect size. Kim, you use the HTC One. That's 5 inches. Is it okay for? Yeah, it's a 5-inch phone. Is that okay for your hand?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I think 5 inches is fine.
I think any bigger would be too much for me.
But that's why you got to go to the store and hold it and try it. Try typing, try holding it, try using it with one hand. See how it works for you. John's in Los Angeles. Hi, John. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Uh-oh, did I do something wrong? Yes, I did. I forgot to do this. Hi, John.
Hello?
Welcome.
Thank you. Your show is the best, but I have a problem with my computer. My computer does not have HDMI, and my TV does not have computer.
So you want to play stuff from your computer to your TV?
Yeah.
Yeah. So only the most recent computers have HDMI out, and there's lots of problems with that. Does your computer, it doesn't have a Blu-ray player built into it. You just want to play videos from your computer.
Yeah, I want to play with the videos, and I want to probably serve internet because I have a smart TV, so I want to make it like an internet TV.
Okay. You'll find I presume your computer has some sort of video out. Is it a laptop?
Yeah, no, it's a desktop.
Does it have any video out on the back? A DVI connector? Any free ones? I mean, it's got it connected in the monitor, obviously, but is there anything?
No.
No, it's all used up, huh?
It's just a monitor, but my TV does not have monitor. It has only HDMI.
Well, right, but you can, for instance, if you have DVI out of the computer, you can get, it's very inexpensive, in fact, a DVI to HDMI adapter. So you can buy an adapter for whatever the computer has coming out. But if you want to continue to use the monitor and the TV, you'll need to have two external ports on the computer. You may not have that. There are lots of ways to do this. I got to take a break, though. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, it doesn't have audio, but then you connect up the audio. So I just didn't have enough time to go into all of that, unfortunately, because I was rushing along. I think, depends on what he wants to do, the better solution would be to get something attached to the TV that the computer can cast to, a Chromecast or a DLNA adapter. It's Dickie D. Dick, I owe you. I am so honored and thrilled. Lisa and I just fell over in a faint.
Oh, great.
And because I saw Chad showing it, and then it showed him, and I said, oh, man, Dick never put my picture in a Mad magazine. He put me in his Price is Right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just your name.
Just my name. And I thought, man, I gave up that show too soon. I mean, man, this guy, but then I turned the page. Chad turned the page.
Yeah.
My camera has.
And I'm in there too.
Have you ever been in Mad before?
You know, I've been in as my alter ego, Chick Glitz, this terrible Las Vegas performer, and I've been in hawking various pieces of crap in fake Mad ads.
So this is I showed this at the beginning of the show and thanked you. But
great!
This is the Snark tank. And I love, actually, there's a lot of people. There's Steve Jobs. It is a ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
Madam Curie.
It was the perfect thing for twit people since it's all about
geeky.
gadgets
Tesla.
and weird.
Yeah, Tesla in there. But we turn the page, and there, my God, it's Dick DeBartolo as one of the judge. Are you a judge?
No, I'm Chad's assistant.
Chad's assistant.
You're right. It's just like a twit.
And I can't. Chad must be. That is so cool. Now, you wrote the script, but Tom Richmond illustrated it. Did you suggest that Tom use Chad, or how did that work?
Oh, yeah. No, at the beginning of the script, I put a note saying, you know what, guys, there are a lot of people in this script that I don't want changed. And then John, the editor, said, you know, just tell us ones that really must be in there. And then tell us where to find some swipe.
But, God, Tom is great, because this is the best likeness of me and Lisa. Can I buy this artwork?
You know, I'll email Tom and let him know.
I would pay a lot of money to have the original of that.
Great.
Look at that picture of Lisa and me.
I'm so glad you're pleased.
That is such a great character. I've never had a better character. I'm going to start using that as my avatar.
Great.
And it's really our names and everything.
Yeah, we didn't change anything.
It's so cute. Look at this. Yeah. Jennifer's going to kill me. All this time, and I never gotten mad. That is so great. Look at that.
And Tom Richmond put himself and his wife in it.
Oh, really? Where's he?
Yeah, he's right above you, I think. I don't have the issue in front of me. He uses the name Tom, so he used his name. He wrote me an email, and he said, oh, you know what? Can I take out two of these people and
throwing everybody in it? Can I be in it too?
I said, absolutely, absolutely. Run with it. Feel free.
Great. Yeah. Wow. I am so honored. And we're the evil villains in the
yes,
piece.
Exactly. Well, you're the evil villains who get even.
We get even. We get even.
Yeah, exactly.
That is such a good likeness of Lisa. Oh my God, that's so great. Anyway, here we go.
And she liked it.
Everybody was thrilled by
hope
it.
Lisa's.
Oh, yeah, you know, it's always risky doing a caricature of somebody. No, she loves it. Are you kidding? Go, GizWiz. It's time for the GizWiz. Dick DeBartolo, our gadget guy. He joins us every week to talk about gadgets. He's here right now, and I was just thanking him for probably the greatest honor of my life. I am not kidding. Mad Magazine, the latest issue, the October 2014 issue. You'll see it on newsstands, just coming out now with Alfred E. Newman and a giant piece of watermelon. And one of the
which, by the way, Leo posted on Facebook. That looks a little like the Twit logo if you turn it the other way.
Somebody said that, but that's an accident. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
You didn't plan that.
I mean, we love Twit, but we don't do no covers.
It does, doesn't it? Anyway, he's eating the watermelon. There's a great big gap where a gap in his teeth is, which is hysterical. But one of the articles, of course, Dick is not only our gadget guy, but he's Mad's maddest writer for many years. He has a parody of the Shark Tank show called Snark Tank in it. And it's very funny, as is everything you do. But imagine my surprise as I'm turning the pages. First, I see your co-host on our podcast, The Gizwiz, Chad Johnson, by name, and of his distinctive trademark red hair. He must have been, and I was kind of feeling bad. I thought, I wish Dick would do that for me. And there it is. As I turn the page, not only me, but my fiancée Lisa are featured in there. I'm wearing a very nice suit. Thank Tom Richmond, the illustrator.
I said, Tom, use your imagination. He did.
We're very well dressed. And boy, is that an honor to be not only featured by name, but also by likeness in Mad Magazine. I grew up reading this thing. I am so honored, Dick. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Holy cow.
I'm honored that you're honored. So
I'm more than honored. I'm blown away. And I'm not kidding. Forget the cover of Rolling Stone. I'm in Mad Magazine. That's a lifetime achievement. So, as always, you have some solutions for our listeners, gadgets they may
a neat
want.
little gadget that I think is reasonably priced from Champ, and it's called the Champ Survival Sidekick. So this is an 8-in-1 multi-tool for your car. So it has the shape of a flashlight, but on the side with a little protective cover is a little metal pin that can break your window if you get into an accident.
Oh, you love these devices.
I do. There's a seatbelt cutter.
You don't even drive.
No, I know, but they work. I went out, I broke several windows on the side street here, and I cut a lot of seatbelts.
I love it. I actually have a predecessor to this that you recommended in my glove compartment. It has a seatbelt cutter. It has a window breaker. It's a flashlight. So you recommend this now? I don't have to trade it in for the Champ Survival Sidekick?
Well, no. This adds a couple of different things. It has a small built-in rechargeable 550 milliamp battery in it.
Oh.
So it also has a little USB port on the side to keep your cell phone
so I
running.
can charge up my cell phone by cranking.
Exactly. Well, first you can use up the 550 milliamps, maybe give you, 45 minutes of talk time. Then you can start cranking.
That's pretty cool.
The end of that flashlight is a blinking red flasher, and the very end of it is a magnetic base, so you can turn on the flashing red light and then just stick it onto the side of your car magnetically.
That's very handy to have, especially if you break down at night so people can see.
Exactly, and it's under $25.
I'm going to buy this one because I like the hand cranking.
Well, wait a minute. There's
more? But wait.
There's one for twice the price. You may not need this. It has a built-in NOAA radio and a NOAA alert system.
So you'll know.
So that's $49.
Yeah. You'll know if the hurricane's coming your way or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. This is great, and you know why? Because I figure nowadays I don't have to worry so much about breaking down. I've always got my cell phone. But what if the battery's dead? This way, you could crank like crazy and get enough juice to make an emergency call. So that's important too. I think this is really great. It's is it on Amazon? I think it is.
It's on Amazon, exactly.
The Champ Survival Sidekick 8-in-1 multi.
And if you want the one with the radio, it's called Survival Sidekick 10-in-1.
Because it's got two more.
AM, FM radio, and NOAA radio.
Dick's website is gizwiz.biz, gizwiz.biz. That's where you can go to find notes on all of the products he mentions, not only on this show, but on his Gizwiz podcast, his regular appearances on ABC's World News Now. He also has, if you scroll down a little bit and click the link, What the Heck Is It?, a little contest to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. In fact, it would be this one, wouldn't it?
It would be that particular issue with you in it.
Ooh, autographed by Dick. And you can get that by coming up with an answer to what we've got a close-up picture of some sort of gadget. He wants to know either what it is or the best crazy answer. It's got 24 Mad Magazines for the best wrong answer, 12 for the best right answer. I understand you actually didn't know what this is.
I did not know what it was. I buy something almost every day. And I bought it, and I couldn't find the receipt. And finally, it was only last week, someone said, I found it, and they sent me an ad in Japanese, but I know what it is.
But but we don't. It doesn't matter if you do, because your chance to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. Just go there for the rules and all of that, and you're playing for the October 2014 edition, featuring us, because Dick's in it too.
I'm in it too.
That's awesome. And please thank Tom. I think that's just.
I
really,
will. And thank you so much, and I'll find out about the original.
Apparently, there's a lot of other people and famous people in this as well, including Tom Richmond and his wife.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
And why not?
Why not? He's the drawer. All right, Dick, stick around. We got the Giz Fizz, our little kind of fun afternoon game that we're going to play with Dick on this podcast network right after the show. Andy in Los Angeles, I think the last caller of the day. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for hanging on.
I've been a fan forever.
Wonderful.
I have a problem with my Yahoo Mail account. I've somehow, and I do this often, seems like, since I'm one of those old guys that go on the internet. I lost my my password, so I go through the machinations that they have to retrieve my password through them.
Yeah.
And I'm going through jumping through a bunch of loops that don't go anywhere. Yeah, so I don't know how to get back into the account, so I could either change my password or talk.
Well, you can't, obviously, because you've forgotten the password. And, of course, Yahoo Mail doesn't have anybody to call you back.
Yeah.
These free mail services, and you can pay for Yahoo Mail, but you're not paying a lot. So it's effectively free. They just can't afford to give you any support. They do have a process involving, as I remember, secret questions, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you go through that and nothing happens?
I can't get there.
So what you do is you go to the login page and you type in your login, which is going to be your Yahoo Mail address, and then click I forgot my password. You're doing that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it will go through that secret question process.
No, I never get there.
You never get there. And, of course, you're not going to get any support. So you go to Yahoo Mail and you say, oh, wait a minute, I can't access my account. That's what they're calling this. I can't access my account. You click I can't access my account, and then you say, I have a problem with my password, or I forgot my, and click next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're out of time. Let me walk through this, see if I can help you after it, off the air. Leo Laporte. Have a great Geek Week. You put in your Yahoo ID. You click next. See, now it wants to send you a text message or an email to another address or use your secret questions. So let's use your secret questions, right? Then it puts up, where did you spend your honeymoon? Where did you spend your honeymoon? Oh, that may not be your secret question, but so that's the process. I just went through it. It should work fine. You're probably not clicking the right thingamajiggies. One thing I do suggest is really important, both Yahoo and Google Mail, provide them with a cell phone number, because even if somebody compromises your account, you can have them call you. Now, if somebody got your password, got in, they could change all of those secret questions and the phone number. And then you're really in trouble because they've compromised you and they've made it so you can't get it back. So that's potentially a problem. And now the way Google does it, and I would hope Yahoo does it, is they can't change the phone number unless they call the phone number and you say it's okay. That prevents a bad guy, unless he gets your phone and your account, from getting into your account. I would guess Yahoo does the same thing. So in that case, even if they change the secret questions and answers, which they may have done, that phone number should be there. If you didn't set up a phone number, then you might be out of luck if they compromised you. I spent my honeymoon on the dark side of the moon. See, one thing is never use your actual secret answers to the actual secret questions. Make something up. Because anybody could figure out where you spent your honeymoon. Or your birthday, or your kid's birthday, or your dog's name. That's how they got into Paris Hilton's account. She used her dog's name as her secret. And anybody who's ever seen her on TV knows what her dog.
knows
Yes, exactly. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.